Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in yet again. I have another knife video today, and we are going to be taking a look at the Zenaida from Koenig Knives. So, normal format, I'll talk about the specs, go into my kind of overall impressions in hopefully the first 3 minutes there, and then I'd like to talk about the company, get into detail on the knife, and then at the end I will actually do a takedown video for you guys of this knife. And the reason that the takedown video is interesting is because this knife is made without screws. So this is a screwless construction knife. I don't know if it's the first, but I'm fairly safe in saying it is the first from a production standpoint. You know, making several hundred of these, or enough that it matters. So really unique design, really interesting, and really innovative. You know, when I first saw this knife, I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy that here we are at, basically 2015. The knife is one of the oldest implements in human history, and here we are still being creative and innovative thousands of years later. So depending on whatever it is you believe, we've used knives for a very, very long time. So it just blows me away that there are people still doing interesting and unique things on something as necessary and something is used as a knife. So anyways, let's get into the specs. All right, so we're taking a look here at a 2.75 inch blade. The handle length is about 3.9 inches, giving us a total length of about 6.6 inches. The knife, as you can see, is a titanium frame lock thumb stud, but the total width in this direction, or the thickness I should say, is about 0.37 inches thick, so relatively thin, easy to carry knife. And then the width at the widest part in this direction is about 0.95 inches thick. So really small, really thin, really easy to carry knife. Fairly lightweight too. I forgot to weigh it, but I will go ahead and put that down in the description box below. But it feels like it's under 4 ounces for sure. So anyways, overall, I have to say that this is, it's a really nice knife. It's really well made. It has good ergonomics. It's just really well put together, and the fact that it's innovative makes it truly interesting, and certainly a piece worth considering if you're into knives of this size, or you think that you might like to try one in this size. It does use premium materials, and it does command somewhat of a premium price, but innovation isn't cheap, and I'll talk about a little bit about that later. But let's get into the specifics. So we have again, a 2.75 inch blade, nice little drop point, plenty of belly, and really useful blade shape. It is S35VN with a stonewash finish. Hopefully you can see that here. And it does use that thumb stud for deployment. Now the thumb stud is titanium, which wasn't necessary, but again, it's a nice touch. It has plenty of traction, so it's fairly easy to flick open as long as you get it on the right spot here. So this knife, it likes to kind of flick out as opposed to straight up, and it opens just readily. So the jimping up top is really wonderfully executed. It's very functional jimping. And finger just kind of locks in, and that's really important on a blade this size. You want to make sure that everything's done really well, because you're working with so much less material and space there. So the handle obviously is titanium. This side has a tumbled finish, and then the back side here has a blasted finish. And one interesting note is that initially they did both sides a blasted finish when they were kind of prototyping it, but the tolerances are so tight on this dovetail construction that the pieces actually wouldn't go together with two blasted finishes, so they had to tumble one side to get that, I don't know, thousandths of an inch space that they need so that it would actually fit together. But really sturdy construction. Now the handle is actually quite ergonomic, as you can see here. It goes down into the palm, and it gives you a really good grip area. You do have a cutout so that you can see the phosphor bronze washers, and then that is the stop pin right there. So nice attention to detail. I really like the lock bar cutout, how it kind of has this, I don't know, we call that a lightning bolt or maybe a Harry Potter mark or something right there. But, it's not a straight cutout. And the gap is quite minimal. A lot of times when you see a titanium frame lock knife, the gap is quite a bit larger, but that's a really small gap. Really cool. I like that. And the tumbled finish I certainly really like too. And it's just a really unique look of the knife here. So then taking a look at the what would be backspace is actually the dovetail construction, which is what holds the knife together. And then the tumbled versus the blasted finish gives a little bit of contrast, so you can see it a little bit better there. So you do have a titanium spring clip that integrates into the back of the knife, and you'll see how that fits in when I take it down. There's a little bit of movement in the clip, but the knife is so light that it's really not a big deal. It doesn't take a lot to keep this thing in your pocket, so the clip functions fairly well. I wouldn't complain if it was a bit thicker, but it functions, it works. So as you can see, it does pick up a little bit of pocket wear, as all blasted finishes do. So anyhow, the edges are nicely chamfered, no hot spots or anything of that sort. And again, despite it being a really small knife, the ergonomics are pretty good. So, if you're one of those individuals that, let's say that you like knives in the size range, maybe the Dragonfly 2 has always been your go-to or something kind of in that spec range there, then this is, kind of the ultimate form, the upgrade in terms of the materials and the construction and the fit and the finish. So everything's on par. The lock bar is easy to disengage. It is raised up here, so you have some area to grab it. And there's no stick whatsoever, and when I first got it, there was no stick at all. So that was wonderfully executed. Even though it's small, it feels very capable, feels very solid in the hand. I wouldn't have any qualms about putting this into a kind of a somewhat hard use roll if I needed to. And then S35 is fairly easy to get back to a nice edge too. So it's a great working steel for an EDC knife, which is what this was designed for. So you can also remove the pocket clip completely and just throw this in your pocket without one if you really wanted to. So let's talk about the company for a bit. So Koenig Knives is a newer company. They're based out of Idaho, and it's a kind of a three-man operation. There's Bill, TJ, and then there's Krista, and those are the three individuals behind the company currently. So, all really cool people, seem very nice. I'll go ahead and put their Instagram accounts down in the description box below if you want to follow any of them, so you can see kind of the latest, maybe any special editions or anything of that sort. But anyhow, they came up with the name Zenaida. I believe it's a genus of dovetail birds, perhaps South America, something along those lines, but quite an appropriate name for a knife with a dovetail construction, which is, I believe, pulled from woodworking. I don't do woodworking, but I believe that's where it's from. So anyways, but let's see here. What else is there to talk about the company? So far, this is their second offering, the Zenaida here. Their first was the Atrox, which is named after, I believe that's either the genus or species name of rattlesnakes, perhaps diamondbacks. But their first knife, the Atrox, was a fairly large and fairly robust automatic knife. And then they came out with the Zenaida, which is kind of the polar opposite, very small, very high-end materials knife. Their third knife is the Tarsus, which is kind of it's a small fixed blade, kind of a fish and game type of knife. And so thus far, their designs have been, and their offerings have been rather eclectic. And the reason for that is because those are knives that interest them individually. And as they're kind of trying to find their roots and figure out their design language and what they're going to do, they've just done projects that they've enjoyed doing. And so far, they've been very well received in the market. People have liked them. So it's been neat. If none of these designs have really spoke to you thus far, I would say just keep following them. Some of the things they have in the pipeline are really, really cool. So, just kind of hang out, see what happens this next year as they release their upcoming models. But their fourth one is, I'm fairly certain, is sure to be a winner. So keep your eyes peeled on their various either website or Instagram accounts. All right, let's go ahead and get to the takedown of this knife. Actually, real quick, let's do a size comparison before I take it down. So here we are with the Zenaida. Here is a Benchmade 940. And then I also have a Spyderco Rubicon here. So there's kind of the difference in size between the three. Certainly the Zenaida is the smallest, most, I guess, potentially pocket-friendly of the group, but smallest and thinnest certainly of the group. So that's just a quick size comparison. I think this knife is universally known. This one a little less so, but these are kind of the smallest ones that I do have. So anyways. All right, takedown. Now, this knife is designed to be taken down without tools, but since this one is fairly new, and I've only taken it apart once or twice to try to figure it out, the tolerances are still pretty tight, so I'm going to use a few tools to help me here, and I'm hoping that I will not cut myself during this takedown. So if I do, I'm not going to edit it, and we will all just enjoy the sight of blood together. But anyways, just a pliers and then a screwdriver. So let's get to it. I'm going to cover up the blade so I don't cut myself, and then I'm going to use this so I do not scratch up the frame here. So first thing you do is essentially this is kind of like a lock bar with a detent. What we're going to do is pop it off, and then we'll go to the next steps and take down. There we go. Got the pop. Move that out of the way. And then, assuming that I got it off, okay. Next step is to just go ahead and slide it up. Oh, there we go. Oh, that was a little quicker than I anticipated. But as you can see, the dovetails separate and it slides upward like this. So here is the pocket clip, the way that it integrates here, kind of with what I'll call a stop pin. I don't know the technical, or a detent. I don't know, not a detent ball, but a detent nub of sorts. As you can see, the pocket clip just rests in between there and it's held in place by this. So here's the pocket clip. Move that out of the way. And then here's the other side. This is where it makes contact. I don't know, this is kind of like a lock bar of sorts, but hopefully that gives you guys a good idea. You can see what we're looking at here. All right, so I'm going to slide this, disengage the knife. I'm going to slide this all the way back here. Oh, no, next step we're going to remove is the stop pin. And, you know, once you've taken it apart a number of times, you should be able to just kind of pop it out. But again, since this is new and the tolerances are still very tight, I'm just going to reach in here with my pliers underneath the camera. I'm making this look harder than it is, I promise you. There we go. And I just pull the stop pin out. Okay, now let's go ahead and slide that down and up. So here is the show side. Again, that's what it looks like, the really cool dovetail construction. And this is one of the reasons the knife is in the price range that is. These are about 400 bucks. But as you can see, you're starting with a piece of titanium that's going to be thicker than this, and then you mill away all of that in between. So there's a lot of wasted titanium. Now, a couple years down the road, when additive metal technology is more accessible and less expensive, which is 3D printing with titanium dust, you know, it's going to be mind-boggling to think what guys as creative as Koenig knives can do. You know, you could probably do something like this without wasting any material. But again, the technology is currently so expensive that it's kind of a moot point. So anyways, there's the show side. Here is obviously the phosphor bronze washer and the blade. And then we come here and we're going to slide the pivot out. And here's the pivot, and this is 416 hardened stainless steel, as well as the stop pin, the other phosphor bronze washer, and then here's the lock side. So obviously the stop pin goes in here, the pivot hole, the lock bar with the detent ball, and then more dovetail construction and the kind of detent nub, I guess I'll call it incorrectly, I'm sure. But anyways, that's how the knife takes apart, and then it goes back together in the exact same fashion. You just put obviously the pivot back in, phosphor bronze washers, the blade. You stick this part back on, then you put in the detent or the stop pin, and then you just snap it back close. So it's relatively easy, but for the sake of time and the fact that I am not super proficient because I've only done it once or twice, I'm just going to leave it there. But anyways, I'm really thankful that Koenig Knives was kind enough to send me this pass around to share with you guys. And I just really wanted to show you this, the takedown, because it's just such a fascinating knife. I took it to a knife meet, USN knife meet, and everyone there was really impressed with the construction methods. And it'll be really cool to see if they're able to produce kind of a similar knife in a larger form factor for, down the road. But the problem is you get larger, again, the costs just increase exponentially because you have to use even thicker pieces of titanium, and again, produces a lot of waste. So anyways, that's pretty much it. Any comments or questions, feel free to ask below, and I'll put links to all the pertinent places to follow and where to get information. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you on the next one.